Friends, we're live. CFLW, the show for this Friday, December the 5th. Rusty with you here. I hope you're doing fantastic. Coming up in the live stream, we're going to be talking about some wet changes on the way for the weekend. We're going to have two different systems that will be impacting the area here over the next 72 hours. One a little bit stronger than the other. So we're going to talk about how that's going to influence our forecast coming up. As always, CFLW, the show, is sponsored by the lead law firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They cover the entire state of Florida, my friends. So if you get into an auto accident, where you have property damage of any kind, wind, hail, hurricane, a burst pipe, they'll walk you through that insurance claim process. They offer free consultation and policy reviews. Check them out by going to leanonthelaw.com for more information. How are my friends doing on this Friday? How has the week been? Weather-wise, it's been relatively quiet. It's been relatively warm. We'll talk about if the next front is actually going to be bringing us some cooler weather and when. I do expect an opportunity to have the first freeze as we push into the very last part of fall and into early winter. Good afternoon, everyone. Hey, Nancy, how are you doing from Wedgefield? Are we getting rain this weekend? Nancy, that's the big question. I promise you I'm going to be answering in the live stream. Overall, the answer is yes. And then we'll talk about exactly when that's going to be happening as well. Hey, Kyle, how you doing? Good afternoon to you as well. Ready for another busy and exciting weekend? Yeah, certainly a little bit busier, no doubt about it. I mean, we're going to have the opportunity for some showers. And not only that, the opportunity even for a few rumbles of thunder out there as well. So, a little bit of instability associated with what I'm expecting for this weekend. There certainly is a time frame over the weekend where I expect better rain chances than others. It's not a complete washout for the weekend, but certainly more active weather. Hey, Blue Goose, good afternoon to you as well. Blue Goose winking at the fact that there could be a little bit of wet Sunday up there. Yeah, that's probably the time frame that we'll be talking about. Hey, Farrah, how are you as well? Happy Friday to you. Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate my friends tuning into the live stream here. Of course, CFLW is a live-only channel. I do these live streams every Monday and Friday at 1 o'clock to get you guys prepared for the work week and then the weekend ahead. And then I'm always on live when we have some active weather across the region as well. If you are tuning in today, I do appreciate it. Thanks for taking a quick second, hitting that like button for me. If you haven't subscribe to the channel, do so as well. So you can clearly see here on our visible satellite and radar loop that we do have a frontal boundary that is draped over the northern Gulf Coast through our panhandle into southeast sides of Georgia and the Carolinas. Let's take a look at the surface analysis associated with this. This is the boundary itself right here. And then we have a developing area of low pressure off of the coast of South Carolina. Now this low is going to get deeper and work its way up the U.S. East Coast. It is going to drag this boundary across our area later today and especially on Saturday. But as it does so, it is expected to weaken, and a lot of the energy associated with that low and this boundary is expected to stay north of us. It will bring us some extra cloud coverage. It will bring us some showers as we get into Saturday, but this is not the main game in town. Remember, there's two systems I told you about that'll be impacting us here through Monday, but this is the weaker of the two. Now, ahead of it, again, I mean, there is some lightning. Don't get me wrong. There is some nice thunderstorm activity here moving through places like Grand Isle, Louisiana, and Biloxi, Mississippi, towards Pensacola, but it's all along and north of this boundary. And the big question is just how far south that boundary actually sinks for later today and into Saturday. But again, a lot of the energy will be coming up the U.S. East Coast rather than sinking off towards the south. Let's take a look at the temperatures that are on the board at the hour right now as well. So let me bring those on for you guys. And we'll get into our look at our live cameras for you as well. So let me zoom in a little bit here, pause this, and then bring on these current temperatures. So as you can clearly see at the hour, it is fairly warm outside still. There's extra cloud coverage, relatively speaking, in our northern areas, Citrus and Levy and Berrien and Putnam, and St. John's and Flagler and portions of Lake and northern sides of Volusia County. But everyone's above average for today, even underneath the cloud cover. St. Augustine, 77, Homosassa Springs, Crystal River, 77, but a lot of areas in the low 80s, even a couple of mid 80s outside right now. It's 82 in Orlando, 82 in Sanford, Titusville coming in at 81, Lakeland area 84, Tampa, St. Pete, Bradenton, Sarasota, 81. Spring Hill, Zephyr Hills, right around 82 degrees. So very warm afternoon. When we take a look at the winds outside right now, they're gusty. These are your wind gusts at the 1 o'clock hour, which right now are in that 20 to even 25 and close to 30-mile-an-hour range. But when we look at where the winds are coming out of, even as far north as Daytona Beach, there's a southerly component. As a matter of fact, what we're likely to get the scenario is, and let me throw back on the front here and then bring on the surface winds for you guys. When we look at that, and I take these vectors and I make them a little bit bigger for you, we're likely to have a south wind the remainder of the day, even through most of Saturday. And in anything, it's actually going to swing a little bit more south and west. So there is no colder air on the horizon with this first frontal boundary. It will be the warmest today, slightly cooler tomorrow, but still well above average. At or above average Sunday, and it won't be until Monday that we actually start to get the north winds and see some cooler weather coming in. What is going to happen is, as this boundary stalls out, I'm expecting another stronger area of low pressure to develop in the north central or northeast Gulf, and that should drag an actual cold front and a south wind to come through. A front that actually clears the area, but with the south winds ahead of it, and the temperatures, the moisture that we have in place, there's the opportunity for even a few rumbles of thunder on Sunday. Doesn't mean the storms are going to be strong, but just like the last front that came in, there's the opportunity for at least a few rumbles of thunder out there as well. So you can clearly see, again, it's a warm, breezy day, south winds outside for you right now. Here's a look at your dew points so you guys can get an idea what that looks like. Again, moisture-laden air. You don't need to be a rocket scientist or a meteorologist to be able to analyze where the front is, right? And where the wind shift is. These are your dew points, higher values, more moisture-laden air at the surface, lower values, drier air. So 40s and 50s up north, even some dew points in the 30s in Mississippi, and then south of the boundary, our dew points with the south winds are the mid and the upper 60s, even right around 70. It is, for December, a relatively warm and muggy day. Are you guys liking that? I'm not. I already told you guys I'm a cool weather fan. Being born and raised in Florida, I've dealt with the warmth most of my life outside of moving around, of course, through the country, and where I got used to seeing some seasons. So I like the intrusion of cooler weather from time to time, and we're going to be getting that here. So let's go to the radar analysis, and then we're going to get into some of the forecasts and also look at, of course, our live cameras for you guys. This is going to be the live radar out of Melbourne. Okay, now again, things are quiet at the hour, even underneath some of the cloud coverage. Here's something interesting though. You actually do get into a little bit stronger weather up here in the Tallahassee area. So if I take our radar system and I switch it over to the Tallahassee radar, which I should be able to do pretty easily. Now the question is just got to find the Tallahassee radar. Come on. Let's see here. Sometimes, there we go. Sometimes you just have to beg a little bit, that's all. So there you go. This is the Tallahassee radar. So we're using the NEXRAD radar out of Tallahassee, and you can see this is the line of stronger storms. Now, again, they're not likely to be severe. The threat with these are going to be winds of up to 40 miles an hour from Monticello back down towards the Apalachicola area, and they're moving off towards the east. These are not likely to move into our area. Again, a lot of the energy is going to be north and pushing away, but it gives you an idea. If you guys are new to the channel, when we have severe weather here in Central Florida, I'll be going on live, and I'll be using all of these great analysis tools that we have here with our weather computer to help tell the weather story. And again, you can clearly see what's happening. Special weather statement for the next 31 minutes, and your threat with that is going to be winds of 40 miles an hour, and that is the entire area in that yellow polygon. And your polygons that you see shaded in this kind of maroon color are going to be the individual cells, the individual storm cells, and their movement as well. So we can always query those. You can see that the cells are moving east at around 32 miles an hour. The storm just north of the Tallahassee area has a very small hail probability as it's racing off to the east at 50 miles an hour. So again, you see the idea that there's the opportunity for a few decent thunderstorms there. When we look at the Storm Prediction Center risk of severe weather, this is your general thunderstorm risk. This is not even into the marginal 1 out of 5 category. This is the 0 out of 5, if you will, but just to show you again where there could be a few rumbles of thunder. Now, does this creep into northern Citrus and Levy and Marion and Putnam and portions of St. John's? Yes, but that is as far south as the extent that I would expect. And then also the timing of this, if we do get that line to come through or even a subsequent redeveloping line behind it, it's not likely to come in until the evening hours or even overnight. And then that's when, of course, things quiet down. We don't have the heat of the day, and it's not summertime either, but there could be a few late night storms in this area, but more than likely just a little bit of rain. When we take a look at the opportunity for severe weather for tomorrow, you can see that the risk of storms has now moved right into Central Florida. Again, this is a non-severe weather risk, but this is the Storm Prediction Center highlighting where there could be some storms, right? Just a general thunderstorm criteria. Now that chance late tomorrow and on Sunday is still likely to be less than 20% as far as thunderstorm activity, but rain chances are likely to be much higher as well. And you can see as that area of low pressure develops in the northern Gulf, as I mentioned, they put a little bit of an area there in the northern side of the Gulf as well. And then for Sunday, I don't know if I've ever seen this, by the way, and I've been doing this for a long time, for the Storm Prediction Center to basically have almost all offshore thunderstorms, right? I mean, you've got Grand Isle, Louisiana, you've got Port St. Joe, and then you have our East Coast, but I had to sit here and scratch my head and just to realize that most of this activity is forecast to be off of the coast where there's a little bit more instability. So boaters on Sunday need to be aware of this, from Volusia County to Brevard County, all the way back down towards Fort Lauderdale and Boca Raton. And again, there could be a rumble of thunder right across US 1 or A1A or I-95, especially up towards the Cape Canaveral area. Obviously, the orientation of the shoreline kicks it off a little bit farther off towards the east. But, again, this is a very unusual setup, but it is, late fall and into early winter. Of course, meteorological winter has already begun. That is on December 1st. Okay, camera time. Live look outside right now to our camera in Winter Garden. And again, a little bit of extra cloud coverage coming in. Now this camera is looking off towards the west. So if you look from the camera and you look at the breezy conditions from that palm tree, that's a southwest wind, right? The palm fronds are blowing to the right and blowing towards you a little bit. So when we look off towards the west, that's a southwest wind. And again, breezy from time to time. I'm going to call it partly to mostly cloudy skies with, as you can see on our live updates at the bottom of your screen, mainly broken deck of clouds, especially from the central sides of our area off towards the west. As we look off towards the east, it's a little bit more sunshine from the Lane Log Cam in Winter Park. Beautiful shot there, a little bit of the iridescence there with those high thin clouds made out of ice crystals, just kind of diffusing some of the sunlight here on this Friday afternoon. But a beautiful warm day in Winter Park. Again, looking off towards the east in Conway, it's a clearer shot there as we look off towards the east in general. The farther east that you live, a little bit more sunshine at the hour, or if anything else, just more of a blanket of thin high clouds. A little bit of a breeze there in the Conway area. And again, from time to time, our winds this afternoon will be 15 to 25 miles an hour. Beautiful attractions day. It's shorts and short sleeves weather, my friends. If you're headed out there this afternoon, you're headed to the fireworks displays later tonight, maybe you want a light windbreaker or a sweatshirt if you're not tolerant to a little bit of a breeze. There's certainly no cooler weather on the way anytime soon. As I've already mentioned, the winds will likely stay, I want to bring myself back on camera. The winds will likely stay out of the south through the majority of our Saturday as well. So let me jump back over to the chat. Good to see everyone chatting with each other today. Mount Dora made national news this morning for being one of the best Christmas towns in the nation. I've been there. I haven't been there, I don't believe, over the Christmas time, but it is a lovely small town, and that does not surprise me. No doubt about it. Hey, the Polish Redneck 3941. That's where these storms need to stay until spring. They come on shore and water our yards. Did anyone notice that a hurricane season was perfect this year? Well, perfect by the means that it didn't influence Florida? Absolutely. Again, I cover the Caribbean and the Bahamas on the other channel that I do called Media Mundo. And, we have friends across the Caribbean there. And obviously, some of those areas will tell you that it wasn't as fantastic because they had to deal with storms like Hurricane Melissa. But yes, for Florida, it was absolutely perfect. We avoided any direct impacts. And again, we're going to get a little bit of rain associated with the storm system that I'm expecting, but that's how we get the rain this time of the year. It is the driest part of our year. December and January and even into February and March, these are our driest months. We don't have the mechanisms of the sea breezes. We really have to get these cold fronts to come through to provide us shots of showers and a few rumbles of thunder. So let's get into what the forecast is going to look like here, guys. We'll go over the rain first. The other thing I want to mention real quickly is we're likely to get some areas of locally dense fog for tomorrow morning. So if for some reason, I know it's not going to be a work day for most, look, someone who worked the weekends, the majority, well, not the majority, but part of his career as well. I understand that, there's no set time, but if for some reason you're getting out early tomorrow morning, we're likely to see some areas of fog. So I'll highlight that. So I want to start off with the HER model, the high resolution rapid refresh. Let me just loop this up here. I was doing a lot of things behind the scenes, so let me just get the right time frame up. So I'm going to show you guys 3 different models. We're going to look at the HER model, which again is a high resolution model. It only updates it updates hourly, but it only goes out 48 hours. So this will take us to Sunday morning, and that's it. So we're going to look at the first part of the weekend with the HER model. We'll look deeper into the weekend with the North American model, and then take a look at the GFS model that takes us a little bit beyond that. But you can clearly see it is going to get wetter, okay? And likely just the deeper into the weekend that we go, the wetter overall it's going to get. Now, for tomorrow, is this likely to impact outdoor plans? For the vast majority of everyone, no. But that doesn't mean it's going to be completely dry, and it doesn't mean we're not going to be devoid of the opportunity for a rumble of thunder here and there. So just get prepared for that. Again, this is the HER model. You can clearly see it has picked up very nicely on a thunderstorm activity across the panhandle, so the model has initialized very well. We're likely to see additional showers and storms develop a little bit farther south in the Northeast Gulf, closer to the Big Bend area and the Nature Coast. So these showers and storms are likely to drive inland as we go into the evening hours. And again, this is what I mentioned, that if we get a line of storms in this area where the SPC had that general thunderstorm risk, they're likely to come in well after sunset this time of the year, especially, after 7 o'clock, 8, 9 o'clock, and they're likely to be weakening as they do so. But this could be some decent rain for St. Augustine and Gainesville and Ocala in batches. Scattered heavier downpours, but this rain is likely to be falling apart as it comes through. So farther north and west that you live, the better opportunity. But as this line tries to get into places like Daytona Beach and Sanford and Deltona and Orlando, it's beginning to break apart. So I don't expect there to be a lot of rain outside of our northern areas, but a few sprinkles are possible. Then we'll basically start off tomorrow morning dry, but also on the foggy side with some areas of locally dense fog. Then as we go into our Saturday, we'll start to see additional showers and a few isolated thunderstorms developing. You can see a few of the heavier cells denoted by the orange and the reds kind of cluster up in portions of coastal sides of Brevard and Indian River counties, with additional showers and storms likely to work their way back in later in Saturday. There is certainly an opportunity on Saturday that the majority of the daylight hours are dry, and we don't see the rain come in until the very late afternoon, if not even the evening. And just like with what I mentioned today, for the remainder of the day, if this comes in after sunset tomorrow and into early on Sunday morning, while it could hold together more, the intensity is likely to be moderate at best. We're not likely to get a lot of rumbles of thunder associated with this activity, but there could be some, especially in the Saturday evening time frame for St. Augustine and Palm Coast and Daytona Beach and Ocala and the Villages, in Inglis and Crystal River down towards Spring Hill, and then, pockets of heavier rain even into Sumter County and Lake Pan and in the northern Lake County and Leesburg, and then across I-75 and US 19 for places like Bayonet Point and Holiday and Hudson, Palm Harbor, and the Clearwater area, St. Pete and Tampa and Brandon and Sarasota and Bradenton on over towards Riverview, places like that, all right? And then the rain is likely to begin to break apart as we get into Sunday morning. Now, I don't expect there to be as much fog on Sunday morning. And one reason why is there might be just some overcast skies, and we might be having to deal with the opportunity for some additional showers Sunday morning, and then a much wetter Sunday overall, okay? Hey Amy, how are you today? Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. So before we move on to the rest of the rain, before I switch models, I want to go back over to the fog for tomorrow morning. So we're going to kind of do this chronologically. And then of course I've got your city by city forecast, and we're going to talk about when I do expect the potential for the first freeze in the area too. So I'm stalling a little bit because I'm trying to find visibility. There it is. All right, and then we'll just do a screenshot of, we'll say 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Let me back it up to 6 because I want to get before sunrise. Okay, so here we go. This is tomorrow morning on the HER model. And of course, we can query this. Now, I think sometimes I have to do this and then it will pop on. There we go. Oh, I get it. So, let me reiterate, where you see this blank area, not likely to be a lot of fog. But what's interesting is around that, you see that the HER model wants to paint on some pockets of locally dense fog in these areas, right? So portions of Citrus and Sumter and Lake counties, inland sides of Pasco and Hernando, inland sides of Hillsborough County, there are going to be some locally dense fog. There are going to be some locally dense fog in northeast Lake County, maybe portions of rural Orange County. What you're looking at here on this map, guys, is these darker areas. Now, the gray is not a problem, but the maroon colors, rather than the brighter reds, are where we have the visibility issue. So just to give you an idea, right, across 50, western Orange County towards Winter Garden, not expecting much, but with, and this makes sense, with a south wind overnight across Lake Apopka, we could see a little bit of fog develop on the northern and the eastern sides of the shoreline, and then that kind of blows up towards the 429 and the 441 over towards the Apopka area, where Wekiva Springs could see a little bit of fog as well. You get into rural areas of southern Volusia County, the far eastern sides of Cibolo County, you get to have some of that locally dense fog. Not expecting a lot of fog right along the immediate coast, just depending on the wind speeds, but just inland from the coastline, we could get a little bit of that. But the HER model is much more aggressive, if you will, on the opportunity for some fog across the Tampa, St. Pete area, Bradenton, Ruskin areas, Gibsonton, places like that, likely to see the opportunity for the thickest fog in spots. May not be extremely widespread, but locally, we have the opportunity for some fog that could be under a quarter of a mile. So please keep that in mind. It's not out of the question of the Weather Service offices that service Central Florida could issue a dense fog advisory for a couple of areas for tomorrow morning. All right, so let me pick up from here the rain chances. So I'm gonna go back over, switch now to the next model, NAM. That's the visibility tomorrow morning. About the same. You can see that the thicker fog in this one is going to be in those maroons, and it's along the west coast. But I think some patches of thick fog, you know, inland I-4, not out of the question as well. All right, so reflectivity time, bring that up. Let's get it back to this afternoon and loop it up too. All right. So this model is going to pull us into Sunday evening, and then we'll look at the GFS from there. Seeing red. Appreciate you, Polish Redneck, saying hit that like button, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you guys are ready for a nice weekend. Chessie, good afternoon to you as well. 82 degrees in our mix of sun and clouds. Yeah, it is a warm one, no doubt about it. So here's the NAM, right? And the thing that I wanted to mention about what this NAM is showing is, again, you know, it has a little bit of kind of what we call convective feedback. There's a little bit more green out there than what's really expected to be, but you get the idea that the majority of the activity overnight stays up north. We drag in some of the rain, like the GFS showed tomorrow a little bit, and then as we get into Sunday, the 7th, we'll start to see the actual line of storms come in, okay, with a stronger system. Remember, area of low pressure developing in the northern Gulf, dragging this front through. This is the one that's actually going to turn our winds out of the north and cool things down. So we'll see the deeper into Sunday that we go, the showers become more widespread with isolated thunderstorms and winds beginning to turn out of the north. But because that doesn't happen until potentially even Monday morning, it's still a relatively warm Sunday ahead. But you're just going to have to deal with a wetter forecast. Most areas for Sunday, 50, 60, even 70% chance for showers. This is what it looks like on the GFS model. And I'm going to go out again one more day from here. So we'll go out just to the 8th and loop it up. Now again, you can see this initial boundary and that low pulling away. And then if you look here tomorrow, you just start to see a little bit more juice here, right there, and that's the next low coming in, right? And as far as the GFS goes with timing for Sunday, again, drier to start the day, just wetter, deeper into Sunday that we go. Still some showers around as we get into early Monday morning. Is there the opportunity for some showers at daybreak Monday? Yes. Generally speaking, what I expect is that most of the rain is out of here by Monday morning, but we're left with overcast skies with a few light showers or sprinkles kind of holding in some areas through Monday morning, and then skies clearing throughout the day, especially in our northern areas. Okay? Now, when we take a look at potential rainfall out of all of this scenario, so we go back over here. Actually, let me do this. Yeah, this will be the easiest thing to do. So this is the GFS model through the entire event, all right? And you can clearly see the gradient. Here's your legend on the top of your screen. You can clearly see the gradients of what's going to happen across the eastern panhandle and the north and northeast side of the state. And then the rain totals will typically just be lower and lower the further south that you live, right? So you get into these grays, and you've got the opportunity here for a few inches of rain. So like Perry could get 3 inches of rain, and Lake City could get 3.5 if this wants to stay on for me, and Jacksonville about 3. That's what all those grays mean. You get into our northern areas like Blue Goose up in St. Augustine, maybe 2 inches, which again, for December, not bad, right? We've been dry. We could use some rain. Parts of Florida, especially the southwest part of the state, went through record dry conditions in November. So getting a little bit more rain overall, not a bad thing. Again, could this impact outdoor plans Sunday, the rounds of golf, the attraction, fishing, things like that, whatever you might want to do? It's a possibility. But I do expect a lot of the rain to hopefully come in late enough in the day where most everyone has their activities in. So you get into these lighter blues across other areas like Orlando and Land Lakes and on over towards Titusville, and you're mainly in a ½ inch of rain or less, right? So it's a clear gradient north to south on the rainfall potential out of this system. Tampa, St. Pete area, again, you're looking at maybe like 1/4 of an inch to a ½ inch at most, but a lot of areas like Brandon and Tampa and over towards Holiday, right around that 0.3. Pretty universal numbers here, right? Same situation in Osceola County and in Lake County towards Lakeland. It's all about 1/4 to a ½ inch. But so, you know, again, St. John's, Flagler, Putnam, Alachua, Marion, Levy, northern Citrus, northern Lake, northern Volusia, northern sides of Sumter County. These are your best areas for some better rain totals overall. So let's look at the hour by hour, not the hour by hour. Boy, that would be something. Let's take a look at the city by city forecast for you guys. We'll start off with the attractions area, Lake Buena Vista. Again, patchy fog tomorrow morning, some of it locally dense. Few showers around developing in the afternoon hours. Still a warm day, 81 the daytime high, and a morning low of 65. Again, not much cooler weather and temperatures still above average on Sunday. Now again, it could be relatively cloudy, mostly cloudy if not overcast the majority of the day, and showers are likely. With that again, a rumble of thunder here and there. 63 the morning low, 77 the daytime high, and then we'll start to see some cooler weather beginning to move in. It will be cooler after Monday, but we'll have the overcast skies, maybe some sunshine late in the afternoon hours. Still a 20% chance for a leftover shower on Monday morning in the Lake Buena Vista area. Still again mild in the morning, but the daytime high does not climb nearly as high, back up to 70 for the daytime high. For the Tampa area, again, some morning fog, locally dense around the Tampa, Bradenton, Sarasota, St. Pete areas here, especially inland sides of these areas. get a little bit closer to the coast, hopefully a little bit more wind to kind of mix things up in the lower levels of the atmosphere. Mild start to the day, to say the least. 68 the daytime high, a 30% chance for a few showers in the afternoon and evening hours of Saturday with a high of 80. Rain becomes likely, like most areas on Sunday, 79 the daytime high after a mild morning low of 66, and then still relatively overcast skies with a few light showers on Monday morning, 73 the morning low, the daytime high of 65. So cooler weather on Monday, but still, there's nothing cold about the forecast here on Monday. Even up in Ocala, well, they'll be in at 69, but they'll fall from 76 down to 69 over the weekend. So get a little bit cooler up in Marion County. Fog tomorrow morning, locally dense. Showers move in, better chance up in these areas like Silver Springs and Bellevue in Ocala and Anthony and Reddick. 50% chance for showers there. Widespread rain, a relatively wet Sunday, especially in the afternoon and evening hours. Again, this is an area that could get 1 to 2 inches of rain on Sunday. 72 the daytime high. Lows fall into the upper 50s, staying in the upper 50s on Monday morning, and then just getting a little bit cooler outside. Nothing crazy again, probably a light windbreaker there. North winds will freshen up a little bit as skies try and clear out a little bit quicker up in Marion County on Monday, so I do expect some sunshine there in the afternoon and the high of 69. Daytona Beach, fog, then scattered rain for tomorrow, 77 the daytime high after a mild morning low of 64. Widespread showers in most of Volusia County, including Ormond Beach and Ponce Inlet, Port Orange, and Wilbur by the Sea, inland as well. De Leon Springs, DeLand, Deltona, Lake Helen, and even down towards the Sanford area in Seminole County. 70% chance for showers there. Overcast skies for the most part on Monday. North winds will begin to kick in, so 60 the morning low and 69 the daytime high. So scattered rain tomorrow, more widespread on Sunday. That could have some impacts to being outdoors, but nothing cold. And then we'll start off with overcast skies on Monday and try and get you a little bit of sunshine to end the day. Anyone have any questions about the forecast? Let me jump in here real quick. Love everyone talking to each other. I do appreciate that. Portion, isn't it supposed to get cold starting on Monday? Behind this front, it is going to get a little bit cooler, but nothing outrageously cold. Now, of course, I'll be back on live Monday at 1 p.m. to cover that change in temperatures for the week ahead. So a little bit cooler Monday, but we'll get a little bit colder through most of next week. But I will highlight, it is nothing outrageously bad as we push into the teens into December. Retention pond down about 4 to 6 feet, yeah. And again, it's the dry season, guys. You know, these fronts, they come in erratically, time-wise. They will bring spots of heavier rain, but they are in and out fairly quickly. Unless these fronts stall out of the area, which does happen from time to time, we're not likely to get widespread heavy rain in most locations. It's a decent front to get a couple of inches of rain as a possibility, especially in our northern areas. You got a Polish redneck? Hey, listen, here's the thing too. Let me just highlight this. Again, this is a live stream, which makes sense. When I am done with this live stream, it becomes a recorded video on the CFLW YouTube channel. If you go under live, I believe, it's just a recorded video. So you can watch this at your leisure. If for some reason you miss the live version, which I love for you guys to join me in the live version because that's why I do this. We interact, we chat. You can ask questions in real time. But if for some reason you can't be there live, you can watch this at your convenience. Later Monday, Monday night, even on Tuesday. Some of the information is evergreen. The Monday show kind of covers the entire work week. So you can even ask a question. I typically go back through the videos, and if there is a question that's asked, even after I'm done recording, I go back and I answer that. So I appreciate you trying to tune in for Monday's live stream at 1 o'clock, but if you can't, you can always catch it in the recorded version as well. So I do want to talk about some of the potential cooler weather. If you guys joined me Monday, I highlighted the 11th for the coldest weather I saw for the first half of December. Well, you know, these models change and these models pick up on a little bit colder weather. So the first thing I want to talk, or the next thing I want to talk about here is the first potential freeze we could have that is widespread. There could be a light freeze in our northwest areas before December 17th, okay? Before 12 days out. But these are your minimums the morning of Wednesday, December 17th. And you see a lot of areas in the 20s and lower 30s. And so this is the first opportunity the European model is picking up on for a widespread freeze. Again, we could get sub-freezing northwest areas, fringe as a possibility between now and then. But for the majority of Central Florida, this is the first time that the models are hinting at maybe we dip into the mid and upper 20s and even some lower 30s. I mean, all the way down into Pinellas and Hillsborough County, and certainly Polk and Osceola counties, even Orlando 31, Sanford 32, right? DeLeon, De Leon Springs 31, even along the coast, 32 for Ormond Beach, 33 for Daytona Beach, 31 in Flagler County, 27 in Marion County. So you get the idea that this is the first potential for a widespread freeze. This is something I'll be monitoring. Monday's show, we'll take another look at this again. And if I do expect there to be a potential for a freeze earlier than this in some areas, we'll talk about that as well. Well, I tell you what, listen, it's never out of the question, the Polish redneck, we have a white Christmas, but what, 1 in 1,000 chance, something like that. You can see skies have cleared even a little bit here in Winter Garden, but again, just a little bit more cloud coverage the farther west that you go. All right, does anyone have any specific questions about the forecast? Anything that we've mentioned here during the live stream about the rain that's going to be likely moving in? Let me clear off some of these values for you guys. Go back over to, that's the wrong button. Actually, that was, almost felt like that was the right button. Anyway, back over to the Tallahassee radar. Again, still have the special weather statement, still have some stronger storms here. Most of that staying up towards the north. Temperatures are expected to stay on the warmer side for us here. Take a look at those real quick. Again, at the hour, at 1:40 here, upper 70s, low, even a couple of mid 80s. North of the boundary with the overcast skies, temperatures, and these are your actual air temperatures, in the 40s and 50s. Light rain, overcast skies along the boundary itself where the south winds are meeting that cooler air. That's why you have that thin line of storms and a big temperature drop right now. So you've got Apalachicola 75 and the Pensacola area at around 52. So more than a 20-degree temperature drop behind that front. But again, a lot of that energy is going to be moving north with this area of low pressure, and then subsequently behind this, another low develops into the northern Gulf, and that drags a secondary front end late Sunday and Monday, and that has the more appreciable changes to our weather. Already went below freezing around November 5th. Yeah, that's the thing, right? For some areas, and for most of Central Florida, it's not the first freeze of the year. If you guys remember the record low temperatures that we had. Yep, that's a good point to make, Jesse, no doubt about it. Okay, my friends, I think we had a fantastic live stream. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Please remember that CFLW is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They offer free consultation and policy reviews, so you get storm damage of any kind, property damage of any kind. They'll walk you through that insurance claim process. You can check them out by going to leanomnilaw.com for more information. Take the information that you got out of this live stream to your advantage for the weekend ahead, especially if you have some outdoor plans. I'll see you guys back here Monday at 1 o'clock. We'll be talking about the last gasp of rain and then the cooler conditions I do expect for the rest of next week. We'll talk about just how chilly it could get in some spots when I see you guys on Monday. Thanks again for hitting that like button and subscribing on the way out. My friends, have a great rest of your Friday. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Till then, take care.